Right.
And if it succeeds, I get the credit, okay? No boss will do that.
Yeah.
So that's a crutch.
And it could be the HR department too, saying, you've got to write with pens that only have blue ink or whatever.
They might, but that's the second part. If you truly work in an organization that will not let you take even a little initiative, you ought to try to get fired. Because first of all, I don't think you really work in an organization like that.
Right.
But if you do, why are you wasting today and tomorrow and the next month and
Yeah.
the next 6 months doing that?
Well, maybe it's, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, maybe it's just in our minds. Maybe it's the
That's where it
resistance.
is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
We feel stuck.
So for example, when I worked at my only real job at Spinnaker Software, it was a real company back in the day when they were real companies with real jobs. But I did things like on Christmas Day, when most of the people who were buying educational computer games were opening their educational computer games, I came in and answered the phone instead of having no one answer the phone.
Right.
Because it was fun. 3 hours of helping kids on Christmas morning, talking to them, blah, blah, blah. Well, was someone going to fire me for doing that? Was that in any company? Can you imagine getting fired for doing that? So 2 weeks later, when you're at a meeting and someone's talking about rewriting the manual, you say, well, when I was answering the phone and I talked to 200 people, everyone in the room sits there quietly because you're now the expert.
Right.
Why are you the expert? Because you figured out what to say when you answered the phone, and you're the only person in the room at your level who's ever talked to a customer, and you've talked to 200 of them. What does that cost?
Yeah.
Right? And so the point is that we all have so many more degrees of freedom than we give ourselves credit for. Even if you're a waitress at Denny's, you can figure out how to be the waitress they would miss if you're gone.
Yeah. And if, the napkins are out of place, or, you think we should have shinier spoons, you could take care of that.
Yeah.
It is about picking yourself.
Right. And, every once in a while you hear the case of, some waitress who got a $10,000 tip because some guy had come in so often.
Yeah.
And, finally he said, thank you, right? Now, she's not doing it for the $10,000 tip. She's doing it because discovering how to smile differently or talk differently to make the patron have an engagement with you, that's your real job. Your job is not to bring the eggs from one place in the restaurant to the other. They can do that themselves at a buffet. They're coming because you are a human being. And what human beings do is art, is new stuff, is connection. And this humanity
Right.
is what has been boiled out of us. And what we're seeing is it's coming back in, right? There's this phrase that's been ringing around my head all day today, which is, Tom Peters wrote a magazine story years ago called Brand Called You. It was brilliant. And it totally changed what people thought of brand. But my new thing is, I'm not a brand. You are not a brand. You're a person. And there's a big difference between being, Dell
Right.
and being Michael Dell.
Right.
And I think that we're now entering this world where it's okay to be a person.
Excellent.